Hello, beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight is. And what a beautiful day. Starlight has been outside ever since she got up. I've been outside this whole time. So, I know the weekend's coming. So, what are your plans for this weekend? I hope you're getting out in nature somewhere. So, anyway, I love you all. And if you are new to my YouTube channel, welcome. And you could find me, whoopsie, Starlight, so sorry. And welcome to my YouTube channel, and you could reach out to me on YouTube, and that is at Starlight, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, you could give my videos a thumbs up, and you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't be afraid, don't worry. I'm like, sorry about that, this is throwing me off. Sorry. Don't be afraid, don't be shy. Swing by and say hi to Starlight. Sorry, I had somebody, one of the workers out here waving. So, yeah, don't be shy is to leave a message down below. Starlight will only accept, people that are being sweet and kind, and it's all right to express yourself, but in a good way. So thank you, all of you out there who do leave Starlight beautiful messages, and I appreciate all of you. And also, you could share these videos with your family or friends. I am gonna say flies. I've seen so many flies today. And let me see, and a squirrel. Plus, you could check out my playlist, and you can find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman Starlight. So I want to say a big, huge thank you to all of you. I can't do this all on my own. We all need each other, and that's what this is about on my YouTube channel, is about peace and love and coming together like a family, like it should be, like it should have been. So I'm so sorry. Starlight has been having bugs out here, so don't mind Starlight if you see her hitting something out here. So I want to say a big, huge thank you to all of you who have been here. You've been here loving and supporting Starlight. I met a couple out here today, and if you watch this video, hey, it was great meeting both of you out here today. I really appreciate talking with you. And all of you that have been here loving and supporting Starlight, and some of you have been here halfway through and you're still here watching my videos and leaving me comments. Thank you so much for your patience and understanding and your love and your support. That's what this is all about, creating the new world, it's about letting go of the old and creating a new world, and that is of love and peace, and that means that we need to come together, so and love one another and forgive each other. Also, I want to say thank you for all of you who subscribed, gave me thumbs up, or even leave me a comment down below, or even share my videos. Thank you. And so today, Starlight's got to slide down. This is what I got to slide down because the sun is coming down. So Starlight's everything's kind of shifting right now. So today I am going to be talking about every one of us needs this, and I am praying for change in the world, a positive change of people coming together and putting our differences aside, and being here and giving each other a hand. And so anyway, this is about tough love. And speaking of giving each other a hand, that doesn't mean of taking people for granted, and that is why I made the video yesterday, is about should we keep on feeding the homeless people. And that doesn't mean just the homeless people, but there's other people out there, what they label as less fortunate. And it's kind of funny, as all those names is because we all are rich. We're all rich, we're all abundant, but not everybody knows that and understands that. So anyway, back to tough love. And starting out being a parent, guess what? You're gonna have to have tough love when you're starting out with your kids. Really, you really can't get through being a parent, at least being a parent that is, working on doing the best that they can for their children. You gotta have tough love. So it starts when you're little, having tough love. It's helping your family out, and that, with the parents, with the children, tough love, and is tough love easy? No. That's why they call it tough love. Why are you saying that to me for? That hurt my feelings. But later on, it might not happen right away, but later on in life, especially when it comes to children, is they won't understand a lot what was going on in the house until they have, a family of their own. That's how it happened for me. I didn't understand a lot. And then even after I had my family, on my 2 kids, I was in the dark for a lot of things, but now I understand. I didn't understand before, but, because I'm growing. It just shows that I'm growing. I'm understanding things. And so it's so important to understand. And throughout this life, we all got to go through those times of tough love. And what happens if you don't give that tough love to your kids? Well, we see this out in society. They can, it's not going to help them out, put it that way. They're going to think that they can get whatever they want whenever they want it. They're going to think that, they can just treat anybody any which way, that there's no consequences, to their actions, and that is why we need to make sure we give our children tough love. Not that we plan it. It's just there's times with our families, our kids, that it's not always easy to teach your children things that they need to learn, that will save their life later on. Tough love, There's now I don't know what you think about as far as disciplining your children. Now Starlight, what would Starlight do if I started all over again? And I've gone through a lot with my kids as far as what to do and what is the right thing to do as far as discipline or not. What kind of form of discipline, can be all kinds of things as far as discipline goes. But tough love is, even at those times, I'm not here talking about abuse. So abuse, and I talked to a police officer a long time ago after I got out of a cult church that was abusing children, and they were being abused. And so I walked into a police department seeing what I could do about this church and what was going on. And the FBI was investigating that church a long time ago in 2000 to 2007 in New York. And with that church is when I did get out of that church, I did go to the police officer, and because I was a mess when I got out, because I escaped. I escaped. I felt like my life was being threatened. I didn't know if I was even going to, I didn't want to tell anybody what I was going to do. I wanted to make sure I was out, and make sure I was safe, and my son, before I told anybody anything, because, that's how that church was. So I'm not talking about abuse as far as what the officer said. And what the officer said is about leaving marks. It's about, opening up the skin, and that's what was going on in this church. Lots of marks as far as bruising goes, and cutting open of the skin, with rods from trees, and because they were going by what the Bible was saying. And so I'm not talking about that kind of discipline. Is when they went, there's a line, and they went past that line by really abusing those children, all over their backside. So tough love is, in the Bible it does say about, spanking your children, but of course it's going to be worded different. And I should have that memorized after all the years I've been in that church. Spare not the rod, you know. So on that note is there's tough love when, you know, if you've done everything you could with your child and they're still not learning the lesson, and it's very important that they learn these lessons. And so, you know, when people start out with their children, you know, and it really has a lot to do with where you go and where you spend the time, what kind of family did you get brought up under, you know, what kind of, you know, what do you know about being a parent, you know. So there's a lot that goes into being a parent, you know. What kind of background did you come from? What do you believe in? What do you don't believe in? You know, and is this your first child? You know, so all the parents learn from their first child. That's why the first one normally goes to the worst. Is not always is the case, though. Sometimes it's other kids in the family that, you know, like black sheep of the family. So with that being said, is there's times that families say, you know what, I've tried to tell my child something and they're just rebellion, they're not listening to me, and you know what, they're, you know, I love them and I got to take action, I got to do something, you know. And then they would discipline their child, not with your hand, but they would discipline their child in a way that it didn't leave any marks, and the child got the message. And guess what, the child didn't like that, right? The child didn't like it, and the child finally learned its lesson. Not that that always happens, but there's cases out there definitely that happens, because the child's like, wow, you never did that before, you know, especially if it's the first time they've gone through it. If you do that in the right way of love, and I know some of you might not agree to that, and that's okay, and I'm not saying I agree with it or not, but I'm just saying that is tough love, is when you love the child so much and you don't, you know, you're protecting them by making sure that, you know, it could save their life later on. What would be the worst thing is that they get disciplined in a correct way, and you talk to them, you educate them on, you know, you fully go through the steps of disciplining them in a loving, caring way, and letting them know that, you know what, you've done other things and we disciplined you in different ways, but this is a serious, you know, act here, a serious crime that they've done, and they need to be taught. And you might have said, hey, please don't do that again, but then they repeated it again, and then they repeat it again. And so what are you going to do, you know? So that is tough love. So I don't want to talk about the whole thing of how, like, if I was to discipline a child today, you know, because I want to talk about other things on this topic. So when it comes to even couples, there's tough love in a relationship. Sorry, the sun is still moving. So so even as a couple, husbands and wife, there's tough love that happens there. You know, like helping each other out. Sorry, Starlight is like, I gotta get out of the sun here. So Starlight is gonna, I'm looking for a spot where I'm not gonna be in the sun. I already cleaned these benches off already, so I don't like to, Starlight does not like sitting in anybody else's germs. So relationships, you know, relationships, there's tough love when, you know, you got to tell somebody something, and, you know, it's just that they need to hear it, and it will help them. It's to help them grow. It's to help them to see that they can do better than that. You know, it's to help them to grow, to become their greatest version, or be that change that they want to see in the world. It's to facing those shadows, you know, and tough love, you know, where it could, you know, and you got to be wise on the words that you use to help somebody out, but it's all for their better good. It's for their future. It's to help them out. You know, it's not that you got to be abusive to anybody. It's just words, you know, and words have a way of affecting all of us in different ways. and there's times when tough love comes, is that, I'm a female, yes, I am definitely a female here, and being a female, I am an empath. I am very, very sensitive to things and people, and with that, somebody could tell me something, and I could get, sometimes we get offended by when, people are out there reaching their hand, trying to help you out, and, there's times that we might, because of our past and because of the things that we've endured in our life, that we might think that they're trying to hurt us. You might not trust them. Why are you doing this? Why are you saying this? And the whole time, it's tough love. It's not easy for people to hear the truth. Nobody, I want to know the truth. I'd rather hear the bitter truth than a sweet lie. So I'd rather somebody be truthful with me. And as a YouTuber, that's not always easy, because I am growing. I am not perfect. I don't know everything. I'm far from knowing. I'm just, to me, guess what? I'm just starting out. That's what, really, if you look at the levels of growth as far as human being goes, as far as, growing, I'm just starting out. So I'm going to have flaws. I'm going to slip of the tongue. This is going to happen, and it's absolutely okay. I got to accept those flaws and love myself, even my flaws. But there's, so we're going to have issues like that with people at times, but later on, normally when you're by yourself, this is what happens. The Starlight, I'm like, you know what? I thought they were trying to hurt me. But they weren't trying to hurt me. They were loving and supporting me by telling me things that I need to hear, not what I want to hear. So really, I realized that it had to been hard for them. It's not always easy for people to tell you the truth and you don't want to hear it. It's like the flesh or your ego doesn't want to hear that stuff. Don't tell me that stuff. That's why some people don't click on certain videos on a YouTuber, a YouTube creator, because their ego stopped them. It's like, oh no, you could actually get help if you watch that. You might have to let go of something that's not serving you. You might have to let go of people that's no longer serving you. And a lot of times people want to hold on tight, even if it's people that's not good for them, even if it's things that are not good for them. Like if I made a video about, you ought to quit smoking cigarettes, people that are, there's going to be some people that want to quit smoking cigarettes. They want to get the help. They need the help. They're tired of it. I just went in the store the other day. I was like, wow, like long time ago, I used to smoke Newport 100s, long time ago. Where did I even get that money? And then the price went up to $5 a pack of cigarettes. I just went somewhere the other day and somebody was just buying one pack of cigarettes. $12 and change for that one pack. It should have the same amount of cigarettes in there, right? But there's people that are addicted to those cigarettes. There's some people, they don't want to hear about it. They don't want to give it up. There's people out there, they don't want to give up their alcohol. But there's some people out there that will give them some tough love, and ouch, that freaking hurt, right? Sorry about the background noise. So tough love, and the reason why I'm making this is, even before I even say that, is even friends. You could have friends, they see that you're doing something and it's not good. You're drinking and driving. They're that friend. If they are a real friend, they're not going to let you get behind the wheel of a car when you're drinking. They know you had too much. How many of them did you already have? A 6-pack of beer already? Should you really drink a 6-pack of beer and go driving behind a car? There's yourself and there's other people. So a good friend is going to be that one that doesn't care what you think. They're jumping in. They're going to do something about it. They're going to say something about it. I've actually had to do this, and I'll tell you what, it's dangerous dealing with people with alcohol. I'll tell you, I've had you know, they could flip out on you, people that are drinking, because they could already have like spirits, you know, like at a liquor store, wine and spirits, you know, where they could already have a spirit that entered into them because they are over drinking, you know, where, you know, I've had to chase somebody trying to, you know, like I'm like, oh, they're ready to go to the car and try to hurry up and get the keys, you know, because I knew they were going to jump in the car. And that person actually had how many DWIs? I don't know if that person still drinks today, but they had a lot of DWIs. Even after they were on probation, they still went out and got behind a wheel and still drove while they were drinking. They weren't even supposed to be behind the wheel. They're, you know, it got suspended, but they still went out and did that. Did they learn anything? Well, that's why I don't understand the government and how they do things. You know, they just want their money. It should have been, bam, that's it. You know, we're throwing you in jail. You know, and you're going to stay in there and think about this for a while. You know, instead of just taking their money and putting them back out on the streets again. So, so there's people that don't want to hear that kind of stuff. They don't want to hear it straight. They don't want to get it in their face. They don't want to hear it. They don't want that kind of help. And the reason why I'm saying it is because this video is because with making a difference in the world, and like I made that video yesterday, should we be feeding the homeless people, you know? And this is what this video is all about, is they're gonna, you know, I'm hoping that, I'm praying, I gotta pause for a bit and find out what God is gonna be doing in my life right now. But with this whole video that I made yesterday is, you know, there could be a whole big shift going on in the planet in a good, positive way. But that means, you know, we need a lot of people. We need to come together. You know, we need to, instead of being divided, we need to come together. And together is when we can actually make a difference. Instead of doing, you know, because this is a big, huge problem with food pantries and helping the homeless people. And I just talked to a beautiful couple today out here, and they do know people with a food pantry. And, you know, where there's food pantries, they don't know what they're doing. It's all wrong, backwards, and all this and that. But they got food, you know. Then there's other food pantries. I've gone in lots of food pantries. I don't know how many food pantries, you know. So I've been all the way from Albany, New York to Miami, Florida, all on the east side, you know, going down to Miami, then all the way up through back to Kansas, Colorado, and all the way to the west side of United States, California, heading up north, you know. So and I've gone in all these food pantries all over, lots of. So Starlight has learned a lot of stuff, the good, bad, and the ugly about food pantries and about all of this stuff. So that is why God sent me out here, is to learn. And this is how you're going to learn. You know, you don't learn by really reading about. Experiencing it is a good way of learning, more than reading something that you didn't experience yourself. So with that note is, that means that a lot of these homeless people, you know, if something like that, I'm going to believe, because we do need a change in the world. We do need to see things differently, you know, as far as homeless people goes. And that's when I started my YouTube channel. I said I'm starting from the bottom and working my way up. And I was making videos about homeless people when I lived in my apartment in the winter months, you know, so my heart is for the homeless people. I have a huge love for people. And so this is tough love about the homeless people. It is going to be a lot of tough love. They need to realize, you know what, you know, it's like spoiling the homeless people. You know, they need to learn a lesson. They need to learn things in life that, you know, this is not the way things go in life, you know, is that they need to learn that they do have to, you know, put out to get, you know, it's you know, exchanging energy, you know, by putting them to work. And, you know, all these things will come in play, but it's just about starting, and it's about jumping in and doing something, and taking action. And so with that is that there are going to be a lot of tough love moments there with those people. I really only want the best for them, and it's not easy, to make those changes in this world. We got to start somewhere, and just like other things that are going on in the world, like the digital IDs that they have in China, that now in America they want to do that here. So they've been watching China to use the digital IDs, and so America is thinking about using that themselves or whatever. And if you ever want to check out that video, my mentor, Infinite Waters, Ralph Smart, made a video on that. It's very important. It's not only what we decide to do, it affects the children and the generations coming up. So you really got to be mindful. Sorry about this background noise. So you really have to be mindful of the choices that we make today. Doesn't just affect us and our families, it affects the generations to come and our families back there, So be wise on the, what we decide to do or not. And but back to tough love when it comes to homeless people. They're going to find out, really just giving a child whatever they want is not the answer. It's teaching them that, what, you got to work for this. If I had teenagers in the house and they want me to buy stuff all the time, go get a job. You're going to go get a job, go out and get a work. I'm not your bank. You need to learn. You need to go out and you need to get a job. Go get a job. They're going to go to school, go to school. And there's a lot of teenagers that do this. They go out and they get a nighttime job somewhere, that starts them off like McDonald's, Burger King, or Dunkin' Donuts, or more than likely it's a fast food place, but it doesn't have to be. Maybe work for a family or whatever. And tough love is to tell these homeless people, you've been spoiled enough. Now we gotta pull things back here. It's got to be like somehow or another to teach them tough love. Is that people are not appreciating the things that they're getting, a good portion of the people, and so tough love, we all need tough love. And that means, tough love, that's a deepness of caring. It's like even food pantries are out there, but what are you feeding the homeless people? There's people out there, and I will not do this. I've given money out to homeless people, and I've given lots and lots of food because I've gone in all these food pantries, so there's been a lot of homeless people that hang out at McDonald's. Mainly, it seems like McDonald's. I never see them hanging out at Burger King. I've seen them hanging out at Taco Bell, looking for a handout out at Taco Bell. But I'm not, I've handed money to the homeless people, but what they do with that money is up to them. But to love is like, I love you. I don't want to give you food that's going to kill you down the road. Love is like, here, I got some apples and fruit for you. And I've given a lot of horrible stuff to the homeless people on this journey because I got food from food pantries I didn't eat. And, but there's a lot of food pantries that, there's times I go to food pantries and I look at the food and it's nothing but junk food. I'm like, I can't even eat any of this stuff. What am I going to do? Throw it away? So love is really, like you love your children. And I know, oh boy, I know, isn't this tough? Tough love, right? Tough love is like, having a balance at least with your children. And, oh, you like the junk food, huh? How about the vegetables and fruit? That can be a big issue. So you got to, kind of tough love with your kids and teach them, because you care about their health, right? I know when they're little, it might not affect them. Maybe they'll get constipation by eating the wrong food, but later on, it can affect them in such a negative way, the way they start out. So tough love is, saying you're not going to that friend's house. I got to learn who your friend is, and now, because what is that friend doing? there's a lot of horrible stuff going on in that house. Tough love is like, I love you, children, but you're not allowed to go to their house, you know, and they're not coming here, you know, because it takes that one rotten apple to spoil the whole bunch. So we all need tough love, all of us, at different times in our life, you know. So really think of the kind of things in your life, you know, like with your family, you know, what kind of tough love are you giving to your children? Are you know, just giving them whatever they want, you know? Because tough love is, I love you, but this is not good for you. You know, I'm not going to let you buy that anymore in the store, you know, because I've seen a lot of parents, they let the kids throw whatever they want in the shopping cart. And imagine, you know, the whole family goes on a health kick. Tough love is, hey, sorry, but I love you. And this is some tough love that I'm giving you, is that I know the food that I'm giving you is not good for you. I know it's not good for your teeth. You know, I know it's not, you know, good for your stomach. I know it's not, you know, the doctor tells us, you know, all this stuff, what's not good. But you know what? I'm tough loving it. We're, no, sorry, but we're taking that out of the, that food product out of the home because it's not good. So, I love you, and even on my YouTube channel, I give you tough love. There's things that I say. It's not easy to say it, but it needs to be said. That's what tough love is. That's when you really know when somebody really, 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 really loves you, is when they are willing to say things that are hard, but it will help you now or even for the rest of your life, because tough love is telling you what you don't want to hear, but it will help you out to grow and be a better person. So I love you so much, and you can give this video a thumbs up. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, plus you can leave me a message down below, beep, 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 and you could share this video with your family or friends. Let me see, a lion and a tiger. Plus, sorry about this background noise. Plus, you can check out my Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman Starlight. So, I love you, and it's not always easy. Sometimes it's tough, but I love you all. You know, from the bottom to my heart. You know, well, actually, from my bottom of my feet all the way up. I love you all, and it's about being out here. It's about saying things that are uncomfortable, and it's because I do love you. So I love you so much. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight, love, light, and peace.